Hello, everyone. This is Kathy Mason from MasonWorks Marketing here on Conscious Business Zone with my friend Victoria Albright. Hi, Victoria.
Hi, Kathy.
Oh, I'm so excited. I got to be across the way at a fair, metaphysical fair last weekend with Victoria. And I was really glad because she wasn't at the very last one and I was out of water. So today we're going to be talking about this incredible opportunity that you have to take control of your own health by drinking higher quality water, whether or not you use it as a spray on your face, use the water as a gargle. You can actually affect and structure water, other water that you have with it. You're going to learn about this technology that changes your relationship with all the water in your body. So, with that, Victoria, do you want to add a little bit more before we start the presentation?
Sure. Thanks, Kathy, and thanks for the invitation. So APeX water is a structured water. It delivers oxygen at the cellular level to kill pathogens in the blood. Okay, and so basically it's as simple as that. I kind of liken it to a hyperbaric chamber in a bottle because it's more than oxygenated water. It's actually delivering oxygen molecules directly at the cellular level to kill pathogenic cells. And when we go through the presentation, I'll explain to you how that happens.
That's perfect. Thank you. Yeah, I want to say that I'm really excited to see the presentation again. Victoria gave a presentation to our local scientists for
Society for Scientific Exploration.
science. Say it again. Society.
Society
That's
for
right.
Scientific Exploration, SSE.
SSE, yeah. She gave the presentation, so I know she's done a version of that for us today. And she couldn't even handle all the requests after that presentation because once you see the opportunity here, it's not a multi-level marketing process. This is something that you just get to buy and use to help yourself, your family. I use it for my cats even. You'll see it's life-changing. So but I wanted to give you a plug that you did a great job with all those
Oh,
scientists.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, with us normal people and scientists. So so anyway, so do you want to show your presentation now? You can,
Sure. And if
okay,
you have any questions, Kathy, as I go through, just, stop me and I'll answer the questions for you. And
sure.
I just did also want to clarify that Apex Water Research Institute, we are a 501c3 private foundation. So all monies are a donation and we provide the gift of Apex. And you'll see through the presentation what we do with our nonprofit. I'll talk a little bit about that as well. Okay, so I did a little presentation just talking a little bit about Apex. And if you have any questions as we go through, just give me let me know and we'll answer it as we go along. Okay. All right. So can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your presentation, the first slide.
Okay. So you can see the Apex logo there.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so again, I'll just reiterate, Apex Water Research Institute, we are a 501c3 private foundation, and so we do a lot with that nonprofit, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we go along. And we don't claim to make any claims to treat, diagnose, or cure any disease or medical condition. We're just going to talk about the benefit of delivering oxygen at the cellular level and how it can help at the cellular level improve your health. Okay, so just quickly, I'll tell you a little bit about the history of APeX. So it was very kind of accidental how this whole thing came about. But in 1952, I'll show you the larger picture. In 1952, this small team of men, these men here, not this tall man in the middle, but this small group of men in Omaha, Nebraska, working for a tool company that had a water purification division. And at the time, they were using the technology that they had to clean large bodies of water like farm wells and swimming pools, etc. In 1952, this gentleman here in the middle, this German immigrant, walked in and he said, "If you give me a job, I'll share this technology I have in my attache case." And so they gave him a job and they started producing this structured water solution, cleaning farm wells, swimming pools, etc. When around 1956, the owner of that company was talking to a friend and said, "Well, you know, you're cleaning these large bodies of water naturally, and the human body is 60-70% water. My 10-year-old boy has a chronic blood condition. Can we try the water with my boy?" And so they did. They gave it to the boy, and he got better. And they kind of got scared and said, "Well, we're not doctors. We can't, you know, give this to humans again." So they never gave it to another human. And so really the technology sat on the shelf for about 30 years. That tool company sold, this water division went away. All these gentlemen, you know, were in their, you know, early 40s and 50s during this photograph in 1952. And everybody kind of went their own way. Well, this young man here, second to left on the bottom, is a man called Bill Branson Sr. And in this photo, he was about 22 years old. And in 1988, he brought this technology back from his memory, and he actually worked with it for many years. This is a picture of Bill Sr. in 1995, producing this formula, preparing it for a virus trial in Tijuana. And that trial led its way to UCLA, where they studied it for another 2 years. And in addition to that, we are a research institute, so we're constantly, you know, gathering information and from people using the water and other entities. One of the first studies that was done was at Creighton University Medical Center back in 1988. Bill Sr. Had a fishing buddy who was a lab doctor here at Creighton, and they worked with the water. He said, "Well, that's very interesting. Let's have a look at that water and do some lab testing on it." And they did. And they studied it or tested it on bacteria and other staph and viral infections. And so this is the report that came from Creighton, which led its way to lots of other studies. So as I mentioned, that UCLA did that virus study, many virus studies, the World Health in Belize, Belsar Labs in England. In Yellowstone, Wyoming, they actually gave it to a buffalo herd that had a pretty serious bacterial infection and saved that herd. We have Continue, a goat farmer in Texas who uses it for his goats, and he claims that they have fewer vet visits and they produce a higher quality milk and cheese. Because you're adding oxygen at the cellular level, everything gets better. Other types of mold and fungus on plants. We did blight on strawberries and blueberries in Florida, both as a topical spray and in their drip irrigation systems. We sprayed it over rice seed in Texas, and they were really excited because the yield was higher, but also the protein value of the rice seed was higher in the crop. We did some marijuana crops in Colorado where we had a higher yield, always a higher value of whatever the crop is, a higher THC value in this case. And it also killed both systemic, which is at the root, as well as environmental powdery mildew, which is a fungus that can grow during the flowering stage and it can, you know, kill a whole crop. And we've done other irrigation studies through hydroponics, drip irrigation, and as I said, through crop spraying. So everything is a study with this, whether it's human, animal, or plant. So I talked about how they didn't give the water to anyone else after about 1956, 57 timeframe. And in 1988, Bill Sr. brought this technology back from his memory, and he worked with it for about 11 years and then did those studies that we talked about in the earlier slide. Well, in 1988, when Bill Sr. was aging and ready to pass on, he asked his son, Bill Jr., who was living here in Colorado, and Bill Jr. wasn't doing anything with the water. He had his own telecommunication company. But his father said, you know, please don't let my work go by the wayside. Please continue. And Bill Jr. honored his father. When somebody'd call for the water, he'd make it, he'd send it to them. And Bill Jr. Tells a story that he wrote called A Benevolent Journey about how the water changed him that first year. He said, I started getting cards in the mail, letters in the mail, phone calls about how this water was saving lives, improving the health, just everything so great with the water. So he really prayed on it and asked for signs. Should I continue it as a hobby, or should I, you know, do it more full time? And he tells in his Benevolent Journey story how he was bowled over by signs. And so around the year 2000, late 2000, he sold his company to his partner, and he's been doing the water ever since. And about 9 years ago, he prayed again for help, someone who could kind of help uh, uh, improve his operation, technologically speaking, but also someone who had the heart and passion of helping people. And then I met him at an alternative medical conference and fell in love with the water, started learning about it, and kind of created a job for myself because I was working with some functional medicine practitioners and introducing them to the water. And so kind of created a job for myself. So I came to work with Bill mid 2017 and have been kind of, you know, doing the education and operations ever since. So here's his little story that he tells. And so it was a great story for him, or um, a great epiphany, I guess, for him, that, you know, he went from not having anything to do with this to making it his life's work. So over the years, there have been a lot of people who've studied APeX, and this was a scientific report written by Dr. Adams. Actually, we have protected his name, but he goes by Dr. Adams. And basically, what he talks about in this report is really at the heart of what APeX is. So APeX is a negatively charged cluster of oxygen molecules. Okay, so all pathogenic cells, parasite, bad bacteria, virus, fungus, all those cells have two common characteristics that we talk about. Number one, they thrive in a low oxygen environment. That's called hypoxic by definition. And all pathogenic cells carry a positive electrical charge. We are the body electric. Healthy cells are negatively charged. When they lose voltage, they will flip polarity to positively charged, damaged. And so you've got your positively charged pathogenic cell. APeX is simply negatively charged clusters of oxygen molecules. So you've got your positively charged pathogenic cell, your negatively charged APeX cluster. They're pulled together like magnets, north and south poles of magnets. And when that oxygen cluster is simply introduced to the pathogenic cell, that pathogen ceases to be viable. And so what Dr. Adams wrote here is really the beef of this report. At the core of the oxygen cluster, he could use gold, palladium, platinum, copper to hold that negative charge, but the best carrier of charge is silver. And when I say that, people automatically think that APeX is a colloidal silver, but nothing could be further from the truth, because the silver in APeX is simply the carrier or the dolly of the oxygen cluster. The oxygen molecules are completely surrounded and encasing the oxygen cluster. So the silver in APeX does not come in any contact with the tissue or the bloodstream. Again, it is simply the carrier of the oxygen molecules to the pathogenic cell. So once that oxygen cluster is simply introduced to the pathogenic cell, it's as if a bomb has gone off, as Dr. Adams writes here, that oxygen phobic pathogen becomes completely oxidized and ceases to be viable. So let me show you what happens. So one of our chiropractor, functional medicine doctors did this dark field microscopy video for us. And you can see this video and watch it in a longer version on our website under videos. And so what you see here, kind of these 3 cells, 1, 2, 3, that have kind of already popped open, and you kind of can begin to see a debris trail. Well, when I turn this video on, you're going to see on the left-hand side a pathogenic cell that is going to be, as Dr. Adams said, as if a bomb has gone off, that cell will cease to be viable. But unlike other traditional therapies that kill both healthy cells and pathogenic cells, APeX does not disrupt the healthy cells or the healthy mouth and gut bacteria that's so important to our health. And so I'll go ahead and turn on this video, and you'll see here on the left, as soon as that oxygen cluster, see that? As soon as it is introduced to the pathogenic cell, it just pops open and the dead molecules leave in a detox, right out the system through detox. So sometimes the first couple of days somebody might be using APeX, it's immediately going to start purifying your blood. And so some people might experience a little detox symptom, which simply means APeX is working. So that could manifest in a couple different ways. A little dull headache, a little nausea, maybe a little diarrhea, even metallic taste in your mouth. And that will pass. That's actually showing that APeX is detoxing your blood. And I always tell people, if the detox is too strong, cut your protocol in half and build back up until you're ready. Because if you stop, you're going to have to re-detox again. Okay. And so it's going to immediately start purifying your blood, as you see here, going after those pathogenic cells. So back in 2006 to 2009 timeframe, one of Bill's Jr.'s associates did an ICAM study, an integrated complementary and alternative medicine study, for about 3.5 years, where they gave the water to people with multiple chronic conditions. And there were three stages, or 3 groups, I should say. Folks who were doing traditional Western protocol with APeX, people who were doing more natural things with APeX, and people who were kind of told there's nothing more we can do to help you, go ahead, get your affairs in order, and people who only used APeX. And after that 3.5 years, they compiled all that data, and the folks, there was about an 86% resolution to those chronic conditions, all different conditions. But the ones who did the very best were the ones who were only using APeX, because APeX will fight its way through, other therapies. But if it's kind of left to do its job on its own, but you've cleaned up your diet and you're doing other things to make your body's terrain more readily available to accept these oxygen clusters, all the better. But so the folks who did the best were only using APeX. And so a book was written on that called The APeX War. It's no longer in print, but one of our practitioners did about a 40-page sort of a cliff notes on that book, and that can be found on our website. Dr. Jane Goldberg did that report for us, and so you're welcome to download that and read it. So that was very interesting. We get all kinds of phone calls and all kinds of reports. One day we get a phone call from, at the time, the Attorney General of Oregon. He was originally the Secretary of State, he was originally the Attorney General and had become the Secretary of State. And he had a chronic brain condition, and he wasn't kind of able to kind of find his words, complete his sentences. And so he started drinking APeX, and he actually reached out to us and wanted to meet Bill. And so we drove up to Oregon, and we met with Dennis, and he gave us his state seal and met with us. He said, I don't really know why I wanted to bring you up here. I don't have anything to offer other than if you ever need me to help or any services, please let me know, and I'd be happy to put my efforts behind that. Well, okay, so we had a great visit, went on our way. And about 10 months later, we hadn't heard anything other than he was doing better and better. It was reported that he had started to undergo some more traditional therapies and treatments, and he ultimately succumbed to his condition. And I think we lost him back in 2021, maybe 2020, something like that. So, but it was great to know what the water was doing to help him, so much so that he invited us up to meet him. So that was a fun meeting. Dr. Jerry Tennant is a very well-known gentleman. He's out of Colleyville, Texas, and he is an ophthalmologist by trade. And he was actually one of the first to develop the first patented LASIK technologies, I believe. Anyway, Dr. Tennant himself resolved himself of a chronic illness by discovering that our cells carry voltage. Because as I mentioned earlier, we are the body electric. Healthy cells are negatively charged. When they lose voltage due to many reasons, they will flip polarity to positive charge, and that is damaged. And so Dr. Tennant met Bill probably 12 years ago, 13 years ago at a conference, and was very intrigued by learning about APeX, and come to find out Dr. Tennant was actually the keynote speaker of that conference. But he really gave Bill a lot of confidence in what this water is and what it does and how it does it, that really, Bill continued to just push on. And so I put this slide up here just because it's just yet another testimony of practitioners who really believe in this water. And so this was at a conference a couple years ago. We go every year in Plano, Texas, in April, and they do a fancy night. And this was Dr. Tennant was receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award, and got a nice photograph of Bill with Dr. Jerry Tennant. So check out that book, Healing is Voltage. It's very, very good. So another thing that we do on a semi-regular basis, similar to the holistic fair that we did this weekend, Kathy, that you were at, we'll do community educational events nationwide. We have people all over the world who use this water. But locally in America, we'll take a road trip where someone will kind of open their home or their business to folks who are either using the water or are interested in learning about it, and we'll go out and do presentation. And so this is one that we did in Texas a few years ago, and we've done them in Florida, in Kansas, in Louisiana, in Alabama. So we get around a little bit. So this was one that we did in Texas a few years ago. Some of the things that APeX does with our nonprofit work, we always work with our veterans. We work with people who are destitute, who need our assistance. But in 2020 and 2021, we worked with another nonprofit called Across Nations, where the Navajo Nation had a really heavy viral load, and they kind of set out for non-FDA approved antiviral solutions. Someone knew about APeX and put us in touch with them, and APeX pretty much, took the lead immediately. And so they kind of dismissed everyone else, and we worked with them for 2 years, where we donated 70 gallons of APeX in individual 4-ounce bottles, where Across Nations was giving out, food boxes with fresh water. And, because a lot of the Navajo Nation families live in, somewhat rudimentary conditions in multi-generational households where maybe they don't have fresh water. And so we were working with the nonprofit in delivering APeX in those food boxes and fresh water boxes. And we saved and helped over 350 families, and everyone did very well. Anyone who caught any virus did very well with the water, and family members drinking just 2 tablespoons a day stayed healthy and didn't have any issues with virus. So we were really happy to participate in that. So in addition to drinking APeX on the protocol, everyone drinks it on the protocol because we want to purify the blood of any pathogens. But in addition to taking it internally, if we can get the water to make direct contact with an affected area, we do that as well. So we can put it in the eyes, nose, ears, on the skin, in the rectum, in the vaginal canal. So really, anywhere we can get the water to make direct contact, we do that as well. So I'll just show some of the images that people have sent us over the years. So this gentleman had infected bites that led to a blood infection, and you can see the blood, the infection going up his leg here. And for him, he just drank it on the protocol, and within 3 days or 2 days, he was on the road to recovery, and that blood infection was beginning to resolve itself. You see that red line of the blood infection has gone off of his leg. So this little lady had a pretty serious abscess tooth infection. She was in the hospital and they couldn't get her infection under control. And like what happens oftentimes, somebody knows about APeX. They brought her some APeX, and she drank it on the protocol. And within 2 days, she was on the road to recovery. So this lady had a pretty bad infection on her leg, and she drank it on the protocol, but she also laid a saturated cloth of APeX in that wound. And the first thing, we see is that necrotic tissue starts curling up. And then, she actually explained to me that they had to cut that dead tissue with wire cutters. It was so dense. And so for Tammy Lee here, she was in 10 and a half weeks. So she drank it on the protocol and she laid that saturated cloth in that wound. So this is Morris. Morris is a homeless veteran, and somebody knew about APeX again, and the hospital wanted to amputate that foot. That is his heel of his foot. And they wanted to amputate it, and somebody said, hey, I know about this water. Let's try that. So we got Morris water. He started soaking that heel and got the infection to a point where they did offer to do a skin graft. And so this is the last picture that Morris sent me. So huge, huge difference and huge improvement. And we saved his foot. And we helped him for almost a year. 8 months, I think. So this young man, a 13-year-old boy at the time, had a bike accident, fell off his bike and actually tore a hole in the really soft tissue here under his elbow. And that's his bone you can see through that hole right here. And his mom called us and she said, I don't want to go to the hospital. I want to use APeX. What do I do? And, we kind of looked at it and said, well, it looks like he needs stitches inside and out. No, 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 I want to use APeX. What do I do? So the first thing they did was soak it to get the grit and gravel and dirt out. They compressed, soaked, compressed, and then they wrapped it, and they kept it wrapped in a saturated APeX cloth for about 20 hours a day. And then every morning they'd unwrap it. They would soak it about 30 minutes, compress, and rewrap. And he never ran a fever, and he never had any inflammation indicating an infection, but instead every day that infection would weep out of that wound. And so here, this is just 2 days later. You can see on May 19th, it was already looking so fantastic. So here's the rest of his journey. And so here on this middle picture, he stopped soaking it and wrapping it. He got tired of wrapping it every day. And I told his mom, well, that still looks really deep. I'd keep wrapping it. And so they did. They continued wrapping it. and that's the last picture they sent me, but they live in Colorado Springs, so I see them occasionally. And his elbow looks really good now. And this picture actually shows how they wrap that 20 plus hours a day. And so that is wrapped in a waterproof bandage. I think they just put, a saturated cloth of APeX on the wound and then wrapped it in, I think, just like plastic wrap, and then taped it down. So this little lady had a condition, a low oxygen condition that caused, her legs to swell up significantly. And what's interesting about this story is that this lady, her name is Sammy. She used to live in Pueblo West, which is the town where we are, and she worked at the post office. And about 13 years ago, Bill had given her some APeX. She had moved away to California, had moved back. She developed this condition that caused this edema in her legs, and she had a half-open bottle that was 12 years old of APeX, and she started drinking it. And here's her journey. So this first picture, of course, on the left before APeX, day 1, you can see it's reduced a little. Day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. So in 5 days of drinking that 12-year-old half-open bottle, it really reduced the swelling in her feet. So those are just some of the pictures that people have shared with us over the years, and people send us things all the time. So how do you use APeX? What is the protocol? So as I mentioned, everyone drinks it on the protocol. And someone with a general health maintenance is only going to use about 2 tablespoons a day, which is 1 ounce. And even for a chronic condition, we just double that to 4 tablespoons a day, which is 2 ounces. And so we want to do a combination of getting these oxygen clusters into the bloodstream, as well as getting the tissue and the organs to absorb it. And there are a couple different ways we can get it in the bloodstream. You can take a tablespoon or half a tablespoon, hold it in your mouth, move it around. The liquid will build, the saliva will build, and you'll swallow little bits as you go. But the goal is to hold it in your mouth 30 minutes, not 30 seconds. And I know that sounds like a long time. Do the best you can. If you can only do 10 minutes, do 10. If you can do 20, do 20. If you can do an hour, do an hour. I mean, Bill truly will do it for 30 to 60 minutes nearly every day. And he's done that for 25 years, he said, and he claims he's never been sick in over 25 years. But anyway, we want to get it in the bloodstream, and we want to get it in the tissue and the organs to absorb it. So we're going to take a tablespoon or half tablespoon, hold it in the mouth, then swallow it. So it's not like oil pulling where you're pulling the bacteria and you spit it out. No bacteria can exist in APeX. And so you're going to swallow it after the 30 minutes because there are still plenty of those oxygen clusters to continue working in the bloodstream. So half tablespoon to a tablespoon, hold it in your mouth, 20, 30 minutes, swallow. And then the other tablespoon to 2 tablespoons, you're going to dilute in your drinking water. So for every glass of water or bottle of water that I prepare for myself, I put like a capful in, which is just a half a tablespoon. And it will distribute evenly in whatever volume of water you put it in. You don't have to shake it or anything like that, but it will dilute evenly in that water, and drink that's your drinking water through the day. So as we're ingesting it in the diluted format, it's consistently helping to get it into the tissue and the organs. So again, we want to get it in the bloodstream. We want the tissue and the organs to absorb it. 2 other ways to get it in the bloodstream, because somebody maybe who had a stroke and they can't close their mouth, or someone who just said, I couldn't possibly hold it in my mouth for 30 minutes. And some options are to take a cotton ball and, saturate it with the APeX, not dripping wet, but get it wet, put it in your belly button and cover it with a waterproof bandage. And you can wear that 10, 12 hours. You can wear it overnight while you're sleeping. The navel is a very efficient way to get any kind of supplement, oils, or APeX into the bloodstream. So cotton ball, get it wet with APeX, put it in the navel, cover it with a waterproof bandage, wear it 10 or 12 hours. That will feed the bloodstream consistently. Another way is to nebulize it. And a nebulizer is just a little device that converts the APeX concentrate to a vapor. And we can take that into the lungs. So it's very good, not only for respiratory issues, but it also helps get it in the bloodstream. And you can also take that vapor through the nose to get it into the brain. So if anybody's interested in learning more about nebulizers, give me a call and I can talk to you about that as well. Okay, I think I covered everything there. So we talked about topical use. So we can wrap the affected area, saturated with a waterproof bandage, but you can also just spray it directly onto your skin. We've actually got a couple different applicators. Let me just grab them here. I think I've got them behind my computer here. So, we offer a little sprayer bottle that you can just spray it on your face or spray it on any area really of your skin. And we always let it dry naturally. So you don't want to dry it because, you want it to soak into the skin. And excuse me for just a second. I want to get this little guy. We have this little nasal sprayer, which is just a little pump. And this will get it right, I don't know if you can see that, right into the nasal passages. Oops. Because that's where a lot of the flu and virus is coming in right through the nasal passages. So this is really good to just spray, daily, especially in the wintertime. And then most recently, we started offering this little eyedropper bottle. So, just dropping it directly into your eyes. You can also spray it in your eyes. But, we've had some people with dry eye syndrome and, one guy is reporting that he believes his vision's getting better because he got new glasses. And after using APeX in his eyes for a couple of months, he had to get new glasses, a weaker version. So who knows? People call me and tell me all kinds of stuff. So in addition to drinking it on the protocol, topical is very efficacious as well. So this is Bill Branson Jr. and me and our little mascot, Rosie, my little puppy. And, Bill's the man who makes this water. Again, it was his father and grandfather who were originally on the team that developed it. And we just go around teaching people one person at a time who's ready to learn about the benefits of oxygen at the cellular level and how APeX can do that very gently and efficiently. And so that ends my little presentation. And so if do you have any questions, Kathy?
Well, yeah, I
I mean,
do.
you've seen this
Yeah,
before.
I've seen a version of this, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's always, I have to hide my face when we get to the bloody things, but
And that's why I put that little warning on there. Because some people, I mean, for me, I've seen some pretty horrific things. I've gotten a little bit used to it. Um, and so, but I love seeing the progression from, where it's so really horrific looking to resolution. It's just amazing what this can do. And,
right.
we have a mutual friend, Larry, who he had, some topic, a lesion on his head that they wanted to, do some surgery and dig down. I think it was like 5 levels or 5 layers of his tissue. And this was probably 2.5 years ago, 2 years ago or so. And he started spraying APeX on that little spot on his head, and it was just within several weeks, like 3 weeks maybe, he was going in to have that procedure done. And when they took that first layer off, they said, well, there's nothing underneath, so we don't need to do anything else. And so he reported that. So Kathy, you know about that
Yeah,
story.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's what we do. My phone is open pretty much 24/7. I've taken calls Sunday night, Christmas morning, because when people hear about this water, they may have just gotten some news about some chronic condition that, they're scared. They want to learn about what their options are. So I want to answer my phone and educate them. And while we don't make guarantees to or claims to treat, diagnose, or cure any disease or medical condition, what I can offer people is hope because I know what it's done for so many people. And, even healthy people, they may not see the biggest difference, but in the background, APeX is working to boost their immune system naturally. But what some people have oftentimes reported is that healthy people, they just feel they've got more energy, more clarity of mind, just a feeling of vitality and vibrance that if they stop, drinking it, they may, have a little bit of a lull. And, so just getting a little bit of this into your system every day, I think is really, really good for you. So,
Wonderful. Okay, so can you stop sharing the PowerPoint so I can come back on?
if I knew how to do it, let's see. So you can still see that, right? How do I
Yes,
stop?
so you have to just close.
Oh, I have to go back over to Zoom, right?
Yeah,
Stop.
and then there we go. There we go. Okay,
Okay.
so now we can both be, there we go. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so I have a question because I've been using the nose thing every day. And I also spray my skin, my face with it, but sometimes I don't wait till it totally dries and I put oil on top while it's still wet. Does that affect the
No,
water?
no, it won't. Just don't put your oil on first because it won't
No.
penetrate the oil. And you don't have to saturate your face, just spritz it, just give it little spritzes. And I will say that Bill pretty much saturates his face though. After he shaves, he'll really give his face a good spray. And yeah, and he's yeah, I guess he won't mind me telling, he's 72 and his skin looks amazing.
He's 72?
Yeah, you've met
Wow, I
Bill.
didn't think that.
Yeah,
Wow.
his skin's in really good condition. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
In
great.
fact, there was a story early in the day when his father was working at that tool factory, where he was, it might have been another place he was working, I can't remember. But anyway, a guy was welding near magnesium chips, and his dad kind of walked over to say, hey, because that can create a flash fire. And what happened as soon as his dad walked over there? Flash fire. And his dad, he kind of raised his arm like this over his face, and it burned his hair and it burned his arm and it burned a little bit here. And they had to go to the hospital. They wrapped him all up. And when they got home, at the time they were testing out making a salve with this structured water solution. And they put that salve on. And Bill Jr. tells the story that his father didn't lose any hair. That was when he had hair. But he didn't, his hair came back and he didn't have any scarring on that arm or anything when they used it. And so, even way back when, topically, it was amazing. So for burns, and his dad kind of had envisioned dipping people, like he actually tried to get the water to the Shriners
Right.
burn, hospital, because he envisioned, like submerging burn victims in this structured water solution that would deliver these oxygen directly on the tissue. And that would have been amazing. But it's really hard to get people to embrace the possibility of what this water is because it's so unique. It's so hard to, I mean, not hard to explain, but it's just so hard to wrap your head around the science of it, if you want to call it that, because remember at the core of the oxygen cluster is a negatively charged nanoparticle of silver. And remember that that silver does not come in any contact with the tissue or the bloodstream because it's completely encased in the oxygen molecules. Now, silver is a heavy metal. Silver should fall out of suspension like it does in a colloidal silver.
Right,
You have to
right.
shake it. You have to put it in a dark bottle because the sunlight will damage it. Well, we deliver APeX in a clear bottle. It's not damaged by the sun. And what is so unique, when UCLA studied it, I think it was UCLA, one of the things that they reported was that the molecules in the bottle of water were in constant motion. They were constantly moving. And so I guess that's why it doesn't fall out of suspension, because Silver as a heavy metal should fall out of suspension. You don't have to shake this. You know, every now and then somebody might see a little, flicker of dust or something in it. And it looks like just a little dust, but Bill has explained to me, and that's not often, but that he believes that would be because he's gotten all of the oxygen clusters in that volume of water that will be taken, if that makes any sense. I mean, it's not scientific for sure, but it doesn't fall out of suspension. The only way to destroy the bond between the nanoparticle of silver, the negatively charged nanoparticle of silver, and the oxygen molecules is to boil it or freeze it. You cannot boil it, you cannot freeze
Oh,
it.
interesting.
That will break. And you can see it sort of has, I mean, I don't know if you can see it, a kind of a golden hue to it. If it's boiled or frozen, it'll go clear. So
Oh,
we
okay.
have to be, really cognizant of shipping during the winter to especially Canada or, the northern states. So, when we get a really bad cold snap, we refrain from shipping for a couple of days. And it would have to freeze solid. I've had people call me and they say, well, it's a little slushy inside. And I say, well, does it still have that golden hue? Yes, so it's fine. It's fine.
Wow, wow. So, okay, another question about how it distributes in other water by you putting a capful in your glass. How does it multiply or how does it affect the other water?
So it's certainly going to purify water. So you can, if you had to go get a gallon of water out of a lake or a stream, you can purify that water with basically a couple of ounces to a gallon, wait 30 minutes or so, and that water will be purified of any living pathogens. Now
Well,
you might have to filter out sticks and stones, but it will purify the water of living pathogens. Um, I have a lot of stories. I have a really good story. Um, uh, you met my grandson,
yeah. Oh my
Bobby.
gosh, what a doll. And he's
Thank
now a giant.
Yeah, he's now 15 and about 6'2", but probably 5 years ago, we got one of those big bladder pools. They're like 12 foot across. And, for the summer, Bob and I, got a pool. And we had just gotten it, filled it up, and put the cover on it. We hadn't gotten any kind of chlorine or anything for it. And, we're here in Pueblo West, and the sun is very, very hot in the afternoons. We're facing west. And after I had filled it and put that cover on it, a couple days later, Bob came over and Bobby, and we took the cover off and went to get in the pool. And I saw what looked like about 2-inch long, like translucent pieces of spaghetti, is what it looked like to me. And they were all in the water. And I called Bill and I'm like, oh, there's these spaghetti looking things in the water. And he goes, well, scoop them out with the net. And I said, you can't, because when you scoop them, they just disappear into the net. And he goes, well, go get some APeX and pour some APeX in that pool. So I did. I'm telling you, I probably poured a gallon in that big, big, big reservoir of water. And within 20 minutes or so, all those spaghettis had floated to the bottom and I just vacuumed it up. Isn't that crazy? So Bill said they were probably parasites that were growing in the water.
Wow, that's so cool. So I probably won't put a gallon in anywhere, but as far as I do have water that I filter and then spin it, and then
Hmm.
I use it and I put in a blue glass even because
Hmm.
that also is supposed to be good. But then I'll put some of your water in it,
Hmm.
and I just
And you don't
wondered
need
how it
much. Yeah.
distributes because it's not, I'm not stirring it or anything,
Yeah.
but
It just, I wish I could tell you. I mean, there's so much that we really don't know scientifically because it's so unique. And even the scientists who've studied it scratch their head. The German brought it. The German brought it in 1952 and shared the technology.
that's
And
cool.
Bill has tried to make this water in other places. We had somebody who wanted to open up like a production facility in Florida, but the Florida water is so bad he couldn't make it there.
Oh, wow.
The
Well,
closest he came,
1952 is when Bill was born.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
but it was his father and grandfather,
Oh,
right?
that's cool.
So Bill and APeX are the same age.
Okay, so one more question real quick about the nonprofit. Do you
Mhm.
want to share a little bit about that?
Sure. And so all monies are a donation to APeX and we return with the gift. Once a year, we do a big donor campaign where we give huge discounts on the donation as well as other gifts. We did that last month. And if this water wasn't helping people, they wouldn't line up by the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds to get as many liters as Bill will offer. And, usually that's only open to our donor. We may do some that we open to the public, but uh, we help so many people with this water, and Bill's really given me a lot of latitude to, make those decisions on a case by case basis when someone calls me. And, we're always willing to help someone get started on APeX. And when they see the value of the improvement, then, maybe family or their congregation or others may help them. But we help everyone through this nonprofit. And we are a research institute, so we collect data anytime someone wants to share any photos or any other records or lab reports with us. We graciously accept those and share them, on a basis of anonymity. But I personally am very honored that I get to represent APeX and to help the people that I get to help every day. And, my first two questions when someone calls is, what is your name and how did you hear about us? And I would say probably 7 to 8 times out of 10, it's always by word of mouth. Someone they know and love and trust has either recovered, gotten better, knows someone who's recovered, gotten better, improved their health. And so that's really how it grows, one person at a time. And
And you also do these fairs and everything. I think you told me about one in Texas where you sold out of everything.
Yeah.
There was fair exchange for all of it. And that's people have to understand that nature provides solutions for everything, and you don't necessarily have to go through the drug and cutting solution for health. And hopefully that's what we're going into right now with more of the frequency work and metaphysical work. That just makes sense that nature has always provided solutions for all the indigenous. I mean, it's available. We just forgot.
Right. And when our cells are healthy, the body will take care of itself. I mean, we're magnificent beings, and our body has the ability to heal itself. We just have to stop bombarding it with all the garbage. And it's hard when it's being thrown at us all the time, but just generally speaking, drinking cleaner, better, more water, putting a little bit APeX in it, but cleaning up our diet and cleaning up our mind, our negative mind speak is another big one. And, we're all guilty of that. And so, uh, it's a package, deal
Yeah.
to bring yourself to homeostasis.
Well, I'm excited about sharing this with everyone at this time of year when you're trying to figure out the best gift for your loved ones. There's nothing that could be better for them, especially if you want them to stick around and be playmates for a long time, than this water. As I said, I've been using it for quite some time and I really love it. And I feel it, even though that video showed it blasting that cell, I haven't had violent effects from it. I've just felt better and felt more self-assured that I could be in public with people sneezing on you and you know, going out because they don't feel good. And because I used to have a retail store and people shop when they're sick on purpose because they're bored. And you know, so lots of times you're in environments at the grocery store or wherever where you can't control your environment. And this is one way to make sure that you're well and feel energized. I think it really makes you feel good.
And if anyone has any questions, like I said, my phone door is always open. May I give our website, Kathy?
Of course, and I'll have it in everything. But yeah, please
Okay.
do.
It's simply www.apex-water.com. So, and my phone number's all over, and a lot of the information we talked about today is on that website. And I welcome anyone to take a look at that. I did a 10-minute video, kind of front and center, explaining the water. And so have a look at that and then call anytime with questions. I pretty much answer all the time, unless I'm on the other phone, on the other line. So
Yes,
thank you,
and
Jen.
Victoria really cares. So this is
Oh,
a wonderful resource for you to process. Also, any fears you might have or questions you might have. There really aren't that many places that you can get support like this for free. It's really a
thank you,
blessing.
Kathy.
Yeah, thank you. Well, you're the real deal. So I'm very proud to have you here. And I hope again, everyone that's watching this, please share with people that you love or care about that that could benefit by this information. Just, you know, you never know who you're affecting when you bring out the blessings that are available for all of us. And Victoria is a blessing. Once you get to meet her, you'll see she truly cares and is in there helping you every step of the way. So that she can, let's put it that way, because there's lots of people, but all of these alternative opportunities are coming up, and don't be afraid of them. You'll know deep down, you'll know what's right for you, right?
Yes, indeed.
Right. Well, thank you very much. And I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday. And again, please look at the description and get Victoria's phone number and all the different ways, and be empowered. Be empowered, please.
Great.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Kathy.
dear.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.